I just want to say hello to the Atlanta Live audience. It's so good to be back with you. My name's Sam Collier, and I'm the lead pastor of Hillsong Atlanta. And I have someone special with me right now. I'm going to do the whole government name on Instagram. It's Maryanne J George, better known MJ from that incredible group, Maverick City. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be here. What an intro, the full government name and all.
Give it all. And listen, if I had more time, I would tell them how angelic your voice is. And I just have to say this because we got to start with your story. When I first discovered you, it was on a Maverick City song, right? Just a random video, YouTube, Instagram. And I kept going, who in the world is this woman? Where did she come from? How did she get this voice? So take us from the beginning, because I know many people know you from Maverick City, but your career started way before that, and it's kind of culminating into what you're in now. You got a new album coming out, all the above. Take us through the MJ journey.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so funny because I feel like once I joined Mav, it started to become my quote unquote career. I didn't ever grow up feeling like it was that sort of thing at all. Like I grew up in New York. We were kind of in this little area called New Hyde Park is where I was born. And we moved further out into Long Island as I grew up, but I was involved in my Indian church. I'm South Indian. So I grew up in a South Indian church. Yeah. And all of the kids in my church pretty much were really musically talented and just were on par with the people I'm working with today. They're so good at what they do. I'm just a small, just a small piece of that, And so I grew up basically leading worship in that church, and it was very charismatic. I grew up in a Pentecostal church, so I have a lot of the charisma of Pentecostalism in me, but with a little touch of South Indian culture. So, but yeah, that's kind of how I grew up, and I've always been very inclined to music. So I just always had an ear for it. I played violin at the age of 4. I've been playing all these instruments. I picked it up by ear. So I just have always had an affinity for music and felt like it was a language I spoke well. So, and then, obviously the Lord had his hand. It's a gift from the Lord that I have. So it was something he kind of stewarded me. He taught me. He was my teacher in so many ways. And so in that small little Indian church is where I've learned so much of what I'm doing right now, thankfully, through just other mentors of mine who looked like me and working in the church with me, encouraged me. And my parents were also worship leaders. And so they were people I looked up to, my aunts and uncles, all of them saying, it was just a thing. We all just, every get-together, family get-together was no matter what, Valentine's Day, we probably sang a song about God's love. So we were always singing as a family. So I just, it's never been a quote unquote career. It always felt like it was just who I was. My identity was so rooted in music. And so, but yeah, God's obviously custom made this path for me to now be part of such an amazing group of family, honestly, with Maverick City. So it's been insane and unreal since 2019 when I got involved. So yeah.
I mean, that's just, first of all, that's amazing. South Indian, right? Shout out to the culture right now. I think that's important. But you got to take us a little bit, and in a second, before we end, you got to tell us about the new album you have that is in conjunction. Yeah, sure. Really it's your thing. It's kind of your thing outside of Maverick, but still kind of in the family. How do you go from the South Indian culture in New York, right? Everybody's kind of singing, it's talent everywhere, to even being introduced to Maverick City? And what was that kind of journey?
Yeah, that was really insane. And the funny part is people always reach out to me on DMs. They're like, how'd you get involved with Maverick City? And it sounds so cliche to say this now, but it was such a divine God thing that it was so many different pieces and pawns, I guess, just working together. And it was just unreal. But I had gone to Bethel Worship School in 2018, and God had given me a prophetic word through one of the people there in front of the entire school. And everything that they said is like happening right now. I would have never thought it would be the way that it's happening right now, but it is. But it was like through that prophetic word. And then there was like the co-founder of Mav, one of the founders of Mav, Tony Brown, he actually is a songwriter through Bethel. And so he, at that time, and he was slowly doing these like private camps, writing camps, where he would be like, it's invite only. And so Alton Eugene, who is a part of Mav as well, he was someone I met when I went to Bethel, and he was just like, hey, so Tony's doing these camps. I don't know. It's a little exclusive. I don't know if you can like be a part. And I'm like, don't even worry. I'm not even a songwriter. I don't even consider myself a songwriter. Like, it was so low pressure. I don't even think Alton ever told Tony about me, but I ended up doing like covers on Instagram, and I covered one of Chandler Moore's one of his songs, actually, the Isaiah song. So he reached out to me. Alton was like tagging Chandler and be like, bro, this girl did your song. Like, and so Chandler reached out to me and was like, hey, I want you to come and do this song for the All Nations album at the time. And so that was how I got introduced to Chandler. And when I went for that live recording, Tony was there, Nate was there, Dante was there, Aaron was there. All the people like that I first met through like Mav, where Mav wasn't even a thing at that time. So it was just like, I just knew of them. And then Tony was like, please come. That was like January 2019. He was like, please come to camps this summer. I would love to see you. So came to camps. So one of my first ever co-writing session I ever did was with Brandon Lake, and with Brett Yonker and Tim Timmons. And that song's actually going to be on my album. And it was my first ever co-write. But it's just been such an incredible like journey of different pieces and people. Like, just like the way that Chandler met me was different from the way that like Alton met me, which is different from how like Bethel like got to know me, and Mav and Bethel have a little bit of an affiliation. And so just to know about, I don't know, just all three of those people meeting me separate of each other, and then just getting to meet Tony separate of all of that as well. Like, it's been so weird and clearly God, like, we couldn't make up any of it.
I love that. So, I mean, it seems like, from the beginning, even from New York, God has just been steps and sending you here to send you there.
Very intentional.
And now he's sending you, still connected, but now birthing the MJ project, right? The Maryanne, is this your debut album that's getting ready to come out?
Yes. And it's so funny you even asked me that this morning. We were just thinking of some content for the whole album. And I was just talking about how I did not anticipate ever releasing anything so soon. I had an idea in my mind of like, before Mav, before anything, like I would love to just have something out, like that represents me, that just feels true to me, like in like 5 years, 10 years down the line. Like, when we have the time, when we have the resources, we would love to do something like that. And for it to happen so soon and so timely, like the way that it's happening right now, you just said birthing an album. I'm also pregnant, so I'm birthing a child as well, which is crazy. So it's just like the timing of God where all these things happen. It just feels so right to start my debut with like an album that represents so much of my identity growing up, just like who I was, my journey, all of that in the last 6, 7, 8 years. So that's what this album will be. And it's just been, I'm so excited for everyone to hear it.
And it's coming, is it on Tribal? Is this an independent release? How is it coming out?
So it's not going to be affiliated with Mav. This is my own album, kind of my debut artistry kind of thing. So it's going to be my own thing. Hopefully it won't be the last thing you see from me. It's not going to be the last thing. But it's like the introduction to who I am. It's very much kind of like an, what do you call it? Prayer room kind of vibe, worshipful, just very much how I grew up. Like that's what I did. My mind has grown and like moved into different spheres since then. But the album represents my purest form, like my baby, like me as a baby, like in the Lord, and just times that I've spent with the Lord. There's a beautiful prayer that we had as the first track of this album, and it sums up pretty much most of what I want to say in this album. It's just a very honest prayer. And so it's a prayer of just like me acknowledging times with the Lord in the dead of the night, and just times that I've left him, times I've come back, just very honest and very true to me. And so I'm so ready for it to be released, and it feels so right for it to be the first thing that comes out representing me.
Well, that's one of the things I love so much about Maverick is that you've got your Chandler Moore, you've got your Dante, you've got MJ, but they in a sense expose you from, and you're kind of birth family. You're able to still be involved in the family, but then you're also able to your own projects. And that's just amazing that it's just like kingdom, right? Elevation. What does it mean for us to work together?